Hey everyone, I'm Chef Chaya-Ryvka from thelivingvision.com, back with you once again on behalf of Living Tree Community Foods. Today we are going to be going over a recipe that I was inspired to create from hearing all about different types of foods that help to protect our bodies from radiation. And whether or not it's radiation from the disaster, may the people in Japan be helped and protected, or just the radiation that we are exposed to on a daily basis. It's great to know about foods and supplements that will help to support our bodies in handling what is about in these times. So, what I've done here is I've made a tropical caramel medicine bar, is what I'm calling it. And it has a base of a lot of coconut products. And it was David Wolfe that I was hearing speaking about how coconut products really help to modulate our thyroid and protects our nervous system, and in general helps our hormonal system. So this has a basis of coconut products, and I'm also using some bee pollen, which is very high in enzymes and protein, minerals, and just overall a very supportive food. Okay, so here we go. What I'm starting with today is 2 cups of shredded coconut, and we're using a food processor for this recipe. So I'm going to put all 2 cups of that shredded coconut here into the food processor. And to that, I'm adding 6 wonderful, soft, juicy medjool dates. Whoops, we want you in there. Okay, and now I'm going to add just a pinch of salt. It's a nice, maybe 2 pinches. And then we're going to get these things processed and get those dates broken down before we start adding any further ingredients. So we'll get that going. Okay, so once you feel that the most of the mango and pineapple has broken down, we're going to add the second half. And if you find that your machine is having a hard time breaking down that much of the mango and pineapple at a time, then just do a little less and put it in more segments. Hopefully that made sense. So you'll just, rather than doing half and half, maybe you'll do a quarter of each at a time. You really want to get that mango and pineapple broken up into smaller chunks so it's very easy to chew in a bar. Here we go. I'm going to break it down again. Okay, that looks good. I'm just looking for the dates to be well broken down. And now what I have is I have a half a cup of chopped dried mango, and I also have half a cup of chopped dried pineapple. Both of these items, and actually all of these items, are available on livingtreecommunity.com. And what we're going to do is just add a bit at a time. I'm going to add about half of each to the food processor. If I don't, it's a little much for the food processor to handle if I were to add the whole thing at one time. And when you're measuring your mango and your pineapple, you'll measure it after you've chopped it, and it's a packed half a cup. So just pack it in there, and that's the amount that we're going to be using. So now, to get this started, I'm just going to pulse it in, and then we'll let it run so that the mango and the pineapple get broken down before adding the second half. Okay, so once you feel that the most of the mango and pineapple has broken down, we're going to add the second half. And if you find that your machine is having a hard time breaking down that much of the mango and pineapple at a time, then just do a little less and put it in more segments. Hopefully that made sense. So you'll just, rather than doing half and half, maybe you'll do a quarter of each at a time. You really want to get that mango and pineapple broken up into smaller chunks so it's very easy to chew in a bar. Here we go. I'm going to break it down again. You can edit this part out. Now, as you can see, I tend to tip my machine, so if you want to try that out, just be gentle on your machine. You'll tip it slightly and give it a rock back and forth. That will help everything to continue to feed down into the blade and keep things moving smoothly. So I'll do that again so that you can see. Okay, and once it feels like all of the mangoes and pineapples have been broken down, and it looks like there's mostly small chunks, maybe there's a couple of large ones, we can move on and start adding the remaining ingredients. So what I have here is some of our Snuggle Spoon honey. It's a delicious wildflower honey, I believe. And I'm going to be measuring out 2 tablespoons of the honey. It's the best way to measure out sticky ingredients or oily ingredients or liquid ingredients that I found. There we go. So that is our honey. And now I'm also going to add some powdered vanilla. And of that I will add 3 teaspoons, which is also 1 tablespoon. Gives it a really nice, fragrant background flavor of vanilla, which goes with everything sweet, if you ask me. Okay, now I'm going to be adding some of our organic coconut butter, and I have that measured out here. That's half a cup. I recommend doing a hot water immersion with your coconut butter, and what that is you just heat up some water, pour it into a bowl, and then stick your jar of coconut butter, and I do the same thing with the coconut oil, into the bowl to soften it up. Otherwise it can be very difficult to remove from the jar. And then I also have some melted extra virgin coconut oil from Living Tree Community Foods, and that is a 1/4 cup. So this is a very coconut rich bar, similar to a granola bar. It would be more of a snack than a dessert, but it could make a nice dessert as well. And as you remember, I said that it was a tropical caramel medicine bar. So the caramel flavor comes from lucuma powder. And the lucuma is a fruit that I have never eaten fresh, but the dried powder tastes extremely similar to caramel. It's amazing. It's a really beautiful flavor. I highly recommend trying it. You can also get this from Living Tree Community Foods. And I'm adding a 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons to our recipe. And then the final ingredient here is some bee pollen. Now, I was talking about the bee pollen earlier. David Ranoshek was talking about using bee pollen to support your body in these times as well. So it's a great food to support your body at any time, and excellent. Right now I'm putting in 3 tablespoons. Looks like a lot because I'm using a teaspoon to measure it out. And you know, I wish I loved the flavor of bee pollen and could just eat it straight. I know a lot of people who do. I just don't happen to be the one that loves the flavor of it, sadly, because it's so good for you. But when I put it into this recipe, it just tastes delicious. So that's a great way for me to eat it, or if I put it into smoothies, it works really well as also. So now that I have all the ingredients in there, I'm going to continue processing it until everything comes together. Okay, now what I want to do is give it a final taste and make sure that it has the amount of salt that I'm looking for. And basically the salt brings out all of the flavors. It makes everything pop. So if it feels like it needs just a little more something, I'll add another pinch of salt. And it's really, really delicious, but it does need a little more something. So just another little pinch of salt. And we'll continue processing. Okay, one more taste. And that's perfect. It's delicious. It has that tartness from the pineapple and the mango, and definitely a nice coconut flavor, and the lucuma is creating a really nice creamy rich caramel. So now what we want to do is I have here, this is a 9 by 9 inch pan. You could use 8 by 8, it will just make a thicker bar. And then you're going to line your pan with a little saran wrap. This is just so that it doesn't stick down into the pan. You need a way to pull it out. So one piece is fine. And then we'll take our entire mix and put it into the pan. Now you just want to evenly disperse the mix along the base of the pan, using a flat hand, just spreading it out nice and even. Once it feels like it's pretty even across the whole pan, then I'm going to go around the edges with my fingertips, like so, and just press down. Take that all the way around. And then with a flat hand, I'm going to press everything in throughout the pan. Just make it a nice firm pack. You can use 2 hands if you want to, if that feels a little uncomfortable for your wrist. Use 2 hands to help you press it down. Now you can fold over the ends of the plastic wrap, and what you want to do is stick this into your refrigerator for about an hour, and once you pull it out it should be nice and firm, and then you'll be ready to cut it. So I have one that has been refrigerated and will hopefully still be nice and firm, which it is. So you can see what that looks like, and we'll just remove the plastic wrap before we cut it. Okay, so let me grab a knife. Now you can cut it into whatever sizes and shapes you want. What I'm going to do is cut it right down the center, and I'm just going to score it first to make sure the size is what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to cut each half in half again. And then to make larger bars, you can just cut the whole thing in half. So I'll actually cut down now, and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So you could have a bar this size and just keep them in the refrigerator. And that's a pretty large serving. So what I would tend to do, because I like smaller servings and then I can always come back and have more if I want to, is I would cut all of those, and then I would cut them in half again and have single serving squares. And it would look something like that. You'll want to store them in the refrigerator or the freezer, and they should be good for at least a month in the refrigerator or freezer, but you will probably end up eating them a lot more quickly than that because they're quite delicious. Wow. That's really good, a great recipe, filled with excellent foods for your body. So go home, try it out, and I hope that you love it. Let me know. Thanks for joining us. Again, I'm Chef Chaya-Ryvka from thelivingvision.com. This is Living Tree Community Foods, and we thank you for joining us.